There we go. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Conversations with Annassa. So happy to see you all. Thank you so much for coming. What an honor and a privilege to be with you this morning. So let's start with meditation and get everybody on the same page. So take your attention inside, and we'll use Ho'oponopono this morning in its new inversion, which is thank you, I love you, I'm sorry. And as we do this, you can have the image that you're tipping all the tensions that you might be carrying in your canoe out. So you are releasing everything that's not yours, everything that's not yours to deal with. You just keep flipping it out of your canoe as though you're turning your canoe over. And you can do this during the day when you're in a situation or a conversation where things are a little bit tricky. You can take your attention inside and just be tipping your canoe from all the intense energy that's coming toward you as you are engaging in your life. So take your attention. Let's go all the way to the ground. So we're grounding our energy into the earth herself, saying, thank you, I love you, I'm sorry. And who we are apologizing to is our deepest inner self for any loss of connection between the last time we connected and this time. Thank you. I love you. I'm sorry. At whatever pace feels good to you, say it into your energy where it intersects with Mother Earth. And just feel and feel and feel into that energy center. And now take your attention to the tip of your tailbone, the base of your spine. Breathe into that energy center. Thank you. I'm sorry. And I love you. Whatever order your being chooses. Thank you. I'm sorry. And I love you. As you feel into this energy center. Gently take your energy, your attention. Energy follows attention. Take your attention into the sex chakra. And for women, this encompasses the whole procreative center. So it's a big area for us. Just breathe into that arena in your body. Feel your pelvis coming alive. Thank you. I'm sorry, and I love you. And you may feel your energy gently starting to rise up to your solar plexus. Breathe into this energy center. We've discovered that in many, many people, this area is blocked because this is one of the primal fear centers. Breathe into this energy center. Thank you. I love you, and I'm sorry. Thank you. I love you, and I'm sorry. Just keep saying this as you release everything that's not yours and invite your awareness to show you what's happening in your energetic centers. As your attention gently rises to your heart center, say into that space in the center of your chest, thank you, I love you, and I'm sorry. If any part of you arises in discontent, we invite you to hold it in your arms and love it into harmony, using the words, thank you, I'm sorry, and I love you. These energy centers are like ice cubes that we're melting with our love. Thank you. I'm sorry, and I love you. Gently allow your attention to rise into your throat center. I love you. I'm sorry. Thank you. Gently take your attention up to your third eye. I love you. Thank you. I'm sorry. And as you feel the top of your head begin to open, visualize a big flower facing up to the sky, 1,000 petals receiving pranic plasma from the multiverse. As you connect to the highest within and around us, always. We are that. Thank you. I love you, and I'm sorry. And now take your attention to the energy center at the top of your aura. That spot as if you made a halo around your head where your fingers touch. That's that energy center. Take your attention there. And now we connect it all with the energy coming in from below, up our central channel, out the top of our head, and in 360 degrees, going downward around us, reuniting underneath the base of our spine and coming up. And it actually flows in both directions, but just for simplicity, it's easier to pay attention to one. And in our experience, up tends to be more productive than down. Down on the outside and up on the inside. Feel into this flow as you continue to say, I love you, thank you, I'm sorry. And now gently bring your attention back to the room. And we're ready for questions. How is everybody? How may we serve today? Teresa.
Good morning. Thank you
Good
so much.
morning. You're so welcome. So happy to see you and Ron.
I haven't been here, neither has Rod, in a long time, and it's so wonderful to be here.
Yes, so happy to see you guys.
That was amazing. That was amazing. My question is, I'm supposed to get the vaccine next week, and I'm feeling all this anxiety and fear come up, and it feels like I'm not throwing the right things out of my canoe.
So here's the thing. You have to, in taking the vaccine, you have to experience it as love and light coming into your body. And so you bring that experience to yourself because
nobody else will.
Yes, and having decided that you're going to do it, we're also doing it. I'm having the second dose tomorrow. And having decided to do it, treat it as love and light. And trust your body to eliminate whatever's not needed and to take in whatever serves. And you just hold that message in yourself. You are taking in love and light, and your body will take care of whatever it doesn't need.
That feels so empowering and so just empowering. It feels so connected.
Yes, because you have made this decision because you truly believe that. We all have. And it's not that we are vaccine promoters. Each one of us has to come to this decision inside themselves that it's the right thing to do or the wrong thing to do. And there is no right or wrong about it. It's complicated. And so each person has to really make the choice for themselves in the context of their highest best and the highest best for all. And whatever decision is totally fine. There is not a wrong decision. There's the right decision for you in the right moment. And we would recommend that if you don't come to peace with this, that you delay. Because the most important part of it is not whether you do it or not, but peace. And this is true for every decision we make in our lives. Really, this is not limited to the vaccine. And the truth is that there are better decisions and worse decisions, but they're not wrong decisions. We do the best we can in every moment, and we learn from our experience. And that is what a growing person does. And failure just shows that we're on the path to learning. And without this attitude, we end up rejecting ourselves because we label ourselves as wrong when we fail. And this is a matrix of belief thing that's really, really tricky. And we're not speaking personally to you, Teresa. It just, this is coming out as part of what needs to be said in the context of self-love. Because everything that we do must come out of the context of self-love with a capital S, which means we are loving God, which is the highest in us and the highest in everybody else. And so, yes, our small s self is included in this self-love, because without loving our small s self, we're always going to be in rejection. And so it's not narcissistic to love yourself, small s and big S at the same time, because they are not really separate. And so instead of having an attitude of blame and rejection and disappointment and all of these things when we make mistakes, no, we take ourselves to the Annassa temple and we forgive ourselves. We love ourselves into harmony. We release any blame, drama, and trauma, no matter what has happened. And if we need to make amends to someone, the Annassa temple is where to do it first, in the unseen, so that we really begin to see how powerful our work in the unseen. It's actually much more powerful than what happens in the seen. And as we come to understand that, we have less complicated interactions with everyone around us and more sophisticated interactions within ourselves as we begin to understand how to work in the unseen for the highest best for ourselves and everybody else. Oh, we lost sound. Is it back? Has anybody else lost sound?
It's back.
Okay,
It's
good.
back.
Okay, good. So
Thank you so much.
you're welcome. Thank you for the question. We're so happy. How may we serve further? Yes.
It is my understanding that Ho'oponopono is an ancient practice focused on forgiveness and correction. I have questions regarding the removal of the phrase, quote, "please forgive me." To me, forgiveness means to stop feeling angry or resentful. So one, why has Annassa taken the liberty of materially revising an ancient practice? Two, what is the problem with including forgiveness in the practice? And three, by eliminating the phrase, "please forgive me," should I construe to mean that there is something inferior about forgiveness and trying to cease anger and resentment?
We love this question. This is a really, really important question. So here's what's happened. What's happened is there was a kahuna in Hawaii who recently died. And a very close friend of ours who is Native American, who was known to this kahuna, received a transmission of this ancient Ho'oponopono practice. And in this tradition, as it was transferred, this transmission was received, it was very, very clear that it was the Christians who came to Hawaii who added the forgiveness piece to the practice, co-opted it, and made it the practice. But the ancient Hawaiian tradition never had forgiveness, because when you are centered in love and truth and peace, and you take responsibility by saying, "I'm sorry for your lack of connection with the highest itself never needs to be forgiven, because the highest is the all of the all that is. And if that's wrong, then everything's wrong. And so that can't be. And so forgiveness was added because the Christian idea that we are born as sinners, that we are born unclean, that we are born as less than God, that inherently needs forgiveness. But God doesn't need forgiveness. God is love. And so when that's understood, then Ho'oponopono is communication with our highest self, with the understanding that our highest self is the ultimate. Our highest self is the all of the all that is. Our highest self is God herself, expressing the entire universe. And that does not need forgiveness, ever. So it's not, I'm sorry, covers all healing that needs to happen. It takes responsibility, and it resolves and absolves everything as we come into higher understanding, as we come into closer union with the all of the all that is, which is our inherent divinity, which never needs forgiveness. It is our lack of alignment that we apologize for. And as we repeatedly assert ourselves in alignment and cultivate that energetic alignment and awareness, and our powers in the unseen become increasingly more refined, and the need for forgiveness is seen as something aberrant to the inherent love that we are and that we are connecting to. We hope that answers the question. Please ask us further if this doesn't provide the clarity. So this has all happened within the last 3 or 4 months that this understanding has come. And we feel so grateful to be so closely connected to it, to express this refinement, because it's really so clearly what needed to happen for our understanding. Thank you for asking the question. Very, very important.
And the follow-up, there's
Yes.
2 follow-ups, one from the original
Mm-hmm.
post. So we are only talking to our inherent divinity and no other part of ourselves.
There is no other part of ourselves. What we are, if you think of a prism that light flows through, our being is like a prism of the crystallized tensions that haven't been released into the flow of our connection with the all of the all that is. And so as this light comes through these frequencies of denser energies, that it's our misunderstanding from the matrix of belief, which created these crystallizations, our misunderstanding begins to influence our behavior, because we act from our understanding. And our matrix of belief was provided to us by people who are peers and elders, who contained a certain matrix of belief that they felt it was their job to imprint on us so that we could be culturally acceptable members of our society. And so we learned this rewards and punishment behavior that requires forgiveness for us to even open our eyes in the morning, because if we aren't behaving according to this standard outside of us, then there's something wrong, and we are wrong with capital letters inside ourselves. And so this whole matrix of belief has to be re-examined from the perspective of the highest best for ourselves and everyone else, which is actually what fifth dimensional understanding is. We hesitate to label it like this because it makes us part of a multi-dimensional understanding that sounds to a scientific mind, like it hasn't been proven yet, but the proof will come. Already our physics understands that time isn't what we think it is, that space isn't what we think it is. And ultimately, they will discover that neither one really exists except in finite reality, which, as third dimensional beings, we are subject to. But that is certainly not the framework from which the all of the all that is works, because time and space don't exist in that dimension, or in that multidimensional awareness is what we will call it. And so we live in a multiverse, and we live in a linear third dimensional awareness of that multiverse, and our language is limited to that linear understanding. So here we are faced with a task of transmitting to you the understanding of multidimensional awareness using linear third dimensional language. And this is why we have started a meditation practice on Wednesday nights, so that you can participate in the transmission of this multidimensional awareness without the words. But we use the meditations that we do here to use your third dimensional awareness to allow yourself to dissolve the crystallizations that have come from this matrix of belief, of limitation, to begin to dissolve that crystallization so that we can begin to be a prism of light that is not flowing through the crystallizations of a failed, faulty matrix of belief. Now, we don't need forgiveness for having a faulty matrix of belief. It was handed to us without our input or any awareness. That came to us at an age before we had the capacity for any discrimination. So we were just little sponges and we took it in. But now we are at an age where discrimination is absolutely imperative for us to be able to live a life connected with our own divinity. And so it's time to dissolve this crystallized matrix of belief. And most of us are coming to an age where it doesn't really impact our lives anymore, because we have choices beyond that. And so we really can come into our alignment and live from it without having to pretend that it doesn't exist 9 to 5 in our daily lives. We're mostly free of that now. And that's why we can entertain the reality of multidimensional awareness and begin to live from it, because we don't have to live challenging it to behave, to have our nose to the grindstone every day in this rewards and punishment environment that has been misunderstood, that has been created out of misunderstanding of who and what we really are. We hope that answers your question. We welcome anything that has arisen as a result of that.
From another poster.
Yes.
So if I say Ho'oponopono using the Hawaiian phrase, is that incorporating the forgiveness aspect or not?
We don't know enough Hawaiian to begin to answer that question. That's way beyond what we have access to in this moment. We think that was your question. We don't know the Hawaiian. And we would encourage you to investigate the source of your Hawaiian practice, to really see where it comes from, and if it has been influenced by Christianity at all, or if it's really the unique Kahuna practice. because all spiritual traditions, no, we won't say all, we won't say that at all, but spiritual traditions, spirit goes to spirit. And so spiritual traditions come through spirit holders. Because third dimensional awareness is limited, and it's only people who have expanded into greater dimensional awareness that can carry this understanding. And it is a lived through understanding and a living transmission that, because it is beyond language, it is the spiritual feeling sense that we are cultivating in cultivating our energetic centers and our connection to the divine source of the all that is. And as our connection to this divinity, to this source energy becomes more and more fluid, then our understanding of what divinity is inside ourselves and what it feels like to be in contact with that source energy, which we are all made of, as we dissolve the crystallization from our matrix of belief and live more and more from the awareness of this spiritual refined energy. As we live in contact with that, it begins to inform us from the inside out about who and what we really are. And so our main practice is the cultivation of this inner experience. And this is why meditation is so important. Meditation is our practice field for dissolving ourselves truly into infinity. And it doesn't mean that we sacrifice any of our third dimensional understanding. We actually become much more adept at third dimensional reality because we understand it for what it is. And instead of looking for rewards and punishment outside ourselves, we look for deeper and deeper connection inside ourselves. And then the realm that we begin to participate in the outer world also transforms, because we begin to attract different life experience as we become different in ourselves, because what we are transmitting in terms of energetic field has a whole different level of attraction and repulsion than anything we have experienced before, because we are becoming more and more love. And more love attracts more and more love. And so this is a self-generating, self-perpetuating system that, as we become more love, our sphere of influence also expands. And there is less resistance, because in this expansion, resistance can't exist beyond certain levels of awareness, because it's just not there anymore. It dissolves. And so truly, we are dissolving ourselves into infinity. And will we disappear? Who knows? And by that time, who cares? but we'll take that risk.
Good morning, Rebecca.
Good morning, Drew. So happy to see you.
Thank you. Happy to see you as well. I guess my question is going to change the subject a little bit, but you haven't talked about the astrology in a while, and that's, I guess, personally interacting with me right at the moment. So I wanted to know if you would have some thoughts on the astrology of going forward in spring here.
Well, how to answer that question? So I'm just going to tell you the truth. I have found an astrology teacher and place to study. And so since I've been immersed in my studies, maybe the last 6 months, I decided that I would stop talking about astrology, because I now know enough to be dangerous. And and I don't know enough yet to be really reliable. And so I'm in that funny place of knowing too much to say nothing and not enough to say what's really true. So I have stopped speaking about astrology for the time being because I'm still a tadpole. And so I think it's important for me to acknowledge that and not speak to it, because I don't want to misinform anyone, and the likelihood of that is quite great at this moment. Because of course I have a lot of confidence in what I know, and I don't know what I don't know, and so that's what it is to know enough to be dangerous. So
Great, thank you.
Totally appreciate the question, but I'm going to pass for at least another 6 months. Probably I should for another 6 years, but because it's of course, I will say this. I'm learning Vedic astrology, and Vedic astrology comes out of a cultural context where astrology is spiritual practice. And so even though it's a very patriarchal context, the thing about Indian society is that it has a safety valve in that spiritual practice is exempt from social rules, especially at the time period when Jyotish, which is what Vedic astrology is called in India, at the time that it was being refined, which was thousands of years ago, it was a spiritual practice. And so even though it comes out of a patriarchal culture, in the depths of the practice, the truth can be found. Now, we'll see if it still survives and if it's available. If it's available through this context, I can't say for sure because I'm not well studied enough. But you can be sure that we'll keep after it until it's understood. And at some point, we'll definitely bring it forward. It's just too soon now. But we encouraged Rebecca to study astrology for about 5 years until she found the right place. So we've been talking about it for a long time, because it's the reason we have encouraged Rebecca to study astrology, and we gave her the choice of which astrology because we knew she would look for the spiritual practice side of it and not decide until she'd found that. And so astrology ties directly to the concept of blueprint, which is fundamental to understanding what the human experience on this earth is meant to provide in the context of ultimate reality. Because the blueprint is the agreed to experience. But you have to understand that the blueprint is not a three-dimensional piece of paper that sits on a desk that you can read. The blueprint is a living document that responds to our ever expanding awareness of the all that is. And if that is our goal, then the blueprint transforms into a roadmap of how to become completely aligned with the infinite. And so this is the value of the blueprint ultimately, and why it's worth studying. But the truth of it is you don't have to study it for yourself, because there are astrologers out there who have really done it. And so it's not imperative to learn it. But for a busy mind like Rebecca's, it's a good distraction while she merges. So this is the truth of it, all the way, all the way through and through. We hope that answers your question, although it's not the information you were seeking. We're quite sure, but that's available from other people. So, and we'll let you know when we feel like we have the confidence to speak. Thank you. How may we serve further? Yes.
Feeling that we are heading towards some sort of reckoning in the US more than ever right now, how can we best work with the tensions spiritually?
Well, we're going to answer this question from the highest, because as we were sort of intimating earlier in our conversation, it is our experience that the most powerful work that one can do is on the unseen. Is when we get powerful enough in ourselves to go to the Annassa temple and request from a state of alignment within ourselves the highest for the whole. And when we are participating in this way, then we are gathering our energy with the energy of all like aligned energies in the highest kind of creativity possible. We are generating a magnetic force to attract to this third dimensional reality the highest for all. There is no wish more powerful than this. So, yes, participate in whatever way you think is most appropriate for you in your life, because it's important that you serve your inner belief system so that you see where it leads, because you need to be true to your own experience of purpose. We're just telling you from our perspective how we experience ultimate purpose. And so if that's not your experience at this point, it's very important that you do what you feel guided to do in yourself. At the same time, we're telling you that from the highest perspective, the most powerful wish we can have is for the alignment of the entire of humanity with divine purpose, which of course is ultimately love, peace, joy, gratitude, and that which is beyond, and alignment with that which will create the utopian awareness that we've all ultimately been seeking. which is 5th dimensional awareness. You know, Annassa's in 12th dimensional awareness. So because we are coming through Rebecca, we are limited to her awareness and her vocabulary. And this is true of any channel and any spiritual transmission. It is limited by the capacity of the person transmitting. And we would say that it's always a transmission because that's how it works. So it is with this understanding that we tell you, cultivate your own. This is the purpose. The purpose is not to be limited by this transmission, but to create your own channel, become your own channel. Now, that being said, it's not in everybody's blueprint to be the kind of channel that Rebecca is. Everyone, of course, can channel divine energy, but it comes through you according to your blueprint. It just happens to be part of her blueprint to speak, to convey this experience to others in this way. You may convey it in a completely different way. You may convey it through your art. You may convey it through a book you write. You may convey it through, you know, the children you raise. You may convey it through teaching. You make, you know, there is no limit to how this energy informs the environment. And each person has a blueprint that allows for that, that is all about that. And so, and at different stages of our lives, it changes. And so it's important to be attuned to that and to allow that. And really, it's all about allowing. The more refined one gets, the less one tries to control any of it. Any of it. I'll tell you something silly that I noticed in my own astrology in the last week. And I was going through a particular text looking at something in my own chart. And it said, for this week, you will be unable to fast. Now, I have been dieting for several months very successfully. But the last week, suddenly something happened. And I just like couldn't stay on the diet. And I was trying to figure out why. And then I ran into this passage and I'm like, oh, okay, it's not my fault. I'll give it a week and try again. So, you know, this is the great boon of astrology, is that you stop blaming yourself for things that are not out of your control. When you actually understand your own astrological chart, then there's a lot of self-forgiveness that automatically happens, because you suddenly see that you might be limited in this particular arena, or you might be exceptionally gifted in another particular arena. It's just we all have a balance that we came into this life with. And so it's a helpful tool. How may we serve further? We are so delighted to be here, and the questions just are phenomenal. Thank you. Well, anything?
Could you talk a bit about, I've had this issue of obsession that friends are leaving, they're moving away. And it's this issue of abandonment. And I feel this is like a false belief in my part, that kind of separation is really a separation. I wonder if you could speak to that a bit.
So the question is this. Some friends are moving away, and Andrew says that he has a feeling of abandonment that has recurred numerous times in his life when there have been changes in location with friends. This feeling of abandonment, and how to work with this feeling that he knows is a matrix of belief that has been persistent through his whole life. Is that safe to say those things? So, this is actually a magical moment for you to bring that belief forward, and the feeling. It's really the feeling that needs to be transmuted, right? This feeling of loss, that if someone leaves the room, they're never going to come back. This is the feeling. This is the child feeling that when someone goes, they're gone forever. And so we are bereft. We are grief stricken with the belief that this person is gone forever, even though we know that that's not true. But we can't accept that some change is taking place that has engaged this fear that the person is gone forever. And so really, you tell us, what is the predominant feeling as you feel into it?
Alone in the universe.
Grief. So you take that alone in the universe, you bring that feeling, that grief, and you understand that first, living with this grief, allowing it to be, is your first task. Just allowing it to be there, allowing yourself to feel this grief of loss. And understand that whenever we are grieving a loss, especially a loss of another human being, the depth of our grief, the profound power of our grief, is the profound depth and power of our love. That grief and love are just the same glove turned inside out. They are the same feeling. One is the profound gift of the presence of someone we love in our life. And the other one is the profound sense of loss when that person disappears. And whether they have disappeared for this moment or for the rest of our life in this awareness, what we do need to understand is that love, that profound love that we experience in their presence, does not die. I think everyone in this call has been alive long enough to have had a close person die. Now, if you feel into the love in this moment, the love that you have for that person, Is it still there, or has it gone? That love is still there. You may feel it as an ache of remembrance. But if you understand that that ache of remembrance is the love itself, and allow that ache to just kind of flip over into a flower of our love, then suddenly we can feel the person. We can actually feel our connection to that love beyond this dimension. And so, in cultivating that experience, if you experience that for a quarter of a second, it will change your life forever. So, feel into that ache of grief. And allow it to turn into the flower of love that it really is. And see if you can let that blossom from that ache into the joy of love. What's happening for you?
It feels much lighter.
So he says it feels much lighter. We invite any of you to share as you practice this with us, if you're having some experience of it. Because we find this understanding of grief to be profound in its simplicity, but all encompassing for every grief that we experience. And as we've been saying for some time now, if it's not simple, it's not spiritual. We welcome your questions. We have such profound gratitude for participating in this way with you. How may we serve further? So, having quieted everybody to this point, let's spend the rest of the time in meditation. And we want to start where we left off and have this last 15 minutes or so be transmission. So we will do this part of the program with our eyes open and our mouths closed, so that we can give you just pure energetic transmission. We invite you to use Ho'oponopono, or you can use the Om sound, whatever appeals to you as a way to stabilize your mind as you bring this energetic transmission through your being. And another way you can do it is to visualize it as pranic plasma, the most beneficial healing substance that exists in the universe. And you can just run the pranic plasma from the top of your head through your body into the earth, just in a very simple practice like that, if that feels appealing to you. But we want you to connect to the energy, and we will be transmitting for the next 15 minutes or so through our eyes, through Rebecca's eyes. So we invite you to take your attention inside, but at the same time, allow your eyes to be open as portals of receptivity as you take in this energy, this energetic transmission of higher awareness from the 12th dimension. We are so grateful for your participation. So with that, we'll be quiet for a few minutes. Thank you so, so much for being here today. We have truly, truly loved our experience being with you. So grateful. We look forward to seeing you again on Wednesday night or next week. So much love. Bye for now.